I'm slow, so welcome to hell. Hoping this is working now for me because everything's going so slow, and I'm hoping that's not. So, weekly Steelchair is slow, so welcome to one and all, including Jamie.
Yeah. Yeah, doing good, man. Doing good. Looking forward to talking about all this drama.
Good, obviously. That's a bit drama is an appropriate tagline for what we've got tonight, and me especially, I am just all in full circles of I'm hating the connection. Good thing is I've got some new nets getting set up, so that is going into my house today. So hopefully it does the trick. Weekly Steelchair, of course, like there's a big show tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk.
Nope, you're muted. You've muted yourself. Yeah, Reece is having microphone issues right now. Yeah, you're muted, man. You're muted, Reece. You're muted. We can't hear you. There you go. You're back.
I'll tell you what it was. It's the NFL decided to start playing now for me. So that's what my laptop's doing. Metro decided to just start playing. So I apologize, everybody. So everyone can laugh at that. I'm okay with that. Tonight's show is, like I said, all about the UFC merger with WWE, TKO as it's now called. Endeavor's kick on. And we're not going to talk about matches. We're not going to talk about. We could talk about Raw because obviously there was an interesting moment of Raw or several, depending on how you scope things. Changes on NXT, but I guess we can look at this in a full fashion. But before we can get to why we're here tonight, my guy to the side of me obviously is back for the first time since the SummerSlam show. So, man, dude, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad actually, man. Not too bad. I've been busy. I got my little girl going in hospital on Monday, so for her operation. So yeah, it's been a busy few months, but yeah, not doing bad. SummerSlam show was for me probably WWE's worst pay-per-view of 2023, I would say, which is, you know, they've been kicking it out the park with their pay-per-views this year. So SummerSlam was a bit of a let. It was a bit of a let. I actually think the last pay-per-view was actually better than SummerSlam, and that weren't even the best. So yeah, it was
I agree. I agree on that one. I thought Payback was actually Payback was good. I mean, bar like I said, there's always one or two moments that never deliver, but still overall good. Niall's in the chat. Niall, good evening. Hope good. I know Jamie's good as well. But thanks for popping along. Join in, get your comments and get your questions and answer what we can because we've got a lot to get through. And frankly, this is a kind of a good show to have when so much wrestling going on and you want to have a different type of conversation. So what do you want to have is different, and that's a good old merger. That's a brilliant shot. My goat of the UFC, GSP. I'm a GSP fan, so that is my that's my peak for the night. I'm happy. GSP versus BJP, the best UFC fight I've ever watched. So shout out 2007, the light heavyweight versus middleweight clash, which was genuinely one of the best fights I've ever seen. But anyway, so I'm just gonna put out there obviously before we get into the congratulations to Impact Wrestling for episode 1000 last night. Fantastic achievement for them, and they were constantly running off. So obviously great for them. Good show. Crowd was up. Some great moments throughout the night, but I just want to give them their props. So congratulations on episode 1000. 19 years of telecasting, so it's rightfully deserved. Funnily enough, it's the same length of time they do. It's a problem when it's no one else. So I just want to say congratulations to them on that one. Also, we've been talking for the past couple of days about this because it's been quite interesting about the circumstances surrounding the merger. before we even go into the nitty and gritty stuff that's happened so far, what's your opinion so far on the merger between WWE and UFC coming together as TKO through Endeavour? What's your overall opinion so far?
Look, I think it's a strange one when we all first heard that Vince McMahon was willing to sell WWE. You know, we thought that would be the McMahon family forever, past Stan and so on and so on. But he wanted to sell it. Obviously, the Saudis at first, that was the rumor. But look, Endeavour is the right company to sell it to, in my opinion. If they're going to sell to anybody, it would have been Endeavour. What they've done with UFC, they've bankrolled that franchise now and made it double its worth. And they're probably the biggest combat sports brand on the world at the moment. So it makes sense from a Vince McMahon and WWE point of view to sell to Endeavour. The merger between the two, that now it's official from 48 hours ago, is going to be interesting under the TKO brand. The stuff coming out of it, the control that Vince has, he has more control than than Dana White in UFC talks, which is mad to me.
Yeah. And he's got the power to veto decisions as well for the UFC.
Yeah, it's just madness. Amari, what's his name? Amari Emmanuel, is it? Is that his name?
Yeah, Ari Emanuel. Yeah, Ari Emanuel.
He loves Vince. He loves Vince. He's been mates with Vince for 20 odd years. So
he spoke really well, though. I listened to his interview. He spoke really well.
Yeah. But also at the same time, I know a lot of people are down about this year because they think Vince is going to get a lot of control back in the company. What I will say is that, yes, they're mates, but Amari, he won't. If WWE are starting to take a dive in the ratings, mates or not, he will take over the reins. He is the owner. Vince ain't the owner no more. Vince only has a 12% stake in WWE. 12%. That's all he has. Correct. So Vince, yes, he's going to be the head of creative because that's where he wants him to be. But Triple H will probably do most of the shows. But I actually think it's better than people go think it is. You know, I think everyone's a bit scared that Vince is going to take over things because Nia Jax came back on Raw and a few things were changed on Raw. And I was like, the things that were changed on Raw from this week to what apparently Sean Ross Sapp was saying that was going to be scheduled for Raw and what was changed. I think the things that were changed actually made the show better. So, and Triple H was working in that. So I know people were down and hearted about it, but I think it's going to be a good merger. I think weekends, if you're a combat and wrestling fan now, I think weekends could be quite special for you, Friday to Sunday nights, every month especially. Endeavour own combat sports on weekends now. Wrestling and UFC, they own weekends. It makes sense to me. I think it's going to be best for both worlds. I think we're going to see a lot of co-branding though. I know they said they won't do it. They can't. I don't think they'll be able to help themselves. I think you'll see Brock in attendance at UFC shows. I think you'll see Daniel Cormier maybe in WWE shows. I think Daniel Cormier in a year's time will come a WWE announcer with you while doing his UFC job because it's the same brand now. It's the same contract you sign. So for me, Reece, that's quite exciting actually. We're in an exciting point now. And look, WWE with this thing, they're the biggest sports entertainment, wrestling, whatever you want to call them. They are the number one in the world, and they're never going to be beaten for number one in the world. And people just need to, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Watch the other promotions because they're also doing excellent stuff as well. But yeah, it's an exciting time, especially if you're WWE in the mark like myself. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan and a UFC fan right now. It certainly is.
I second that. What's up, Doug? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Need to get back chatting football with you too. Like just chatting football. It's been a while. No, I agree. I think there is some perks to this merger. There's maybe some negatives as well that are quite expansive. We're going to come into that. Yeah. We're going to come into that shortly. If anyone has any genuine questions as well from what's come out, I'm happy to answer them as well. We're certainly grounds for that. So get some questions in, get your comments in. It's going to be a really fun show. My take on it is, the one thing about this is quite evident is because obviously WWE many years ago, obviously when they got listed on the stock exchange, they went so corporate with everything. They went so corporate that the product got hampered massively, and they lost a specific part of the fan base you can never get back, and that's the casuals. You can't get the casuals back if you go corporate. Now, again, this merger, whether you like it or not, I mean, that's completely fine. That's entirely up to yourself for the opinion. When you look at it, there's so much wealth there now as a combined organization that it feels like it's going to be the same sort of thing, where they're going to get it doesn't matter like what the wealth is. They know they could risk losing the casual fans, they can risk losing all that because they know they'll still pump money. They said that exactly. So if they lose the casuals, that's a merchandise loss, because the casuals buy your merchandise. The hardcore fans will, but it's very rare that a hardcore fan's going to really go and do it. They just go to the shows and they enjoy the product, and then, well, they can be quite blind on it and they choose to ignore certain negative things, and they only go for the positives, which is fine. I like a mix of both. I like the negative and the positive because we can always see the diverse opinion. But if you lose the casuals again over going corporate, then you're really fucked. But the money will completely disregard the loss. On the grounds of the merger, if you had to look at, say, before we even come into the collective wealth of the two companies, before we look at, we're going to be discussing the employees that have been removed as well, let go. We're going to talk about all that. My question is for you: what are two positives and two negatives you think could come from this merger? Just two. There could be numerous, but if you had to pick two positives and two negatives, what would you say?
I think the positive from a WWE standpoint is that they won't have to commercialize themselves for children anymore, because they're merged with UFC. Now, if you see UFC, what they commercialize, it's more to the 18-36 demographic. The boss Ari's already spoke about that demographic, that he wants it between 18 and 36 for both companies. That's what he's looking at. He wants the 18 to 36 demographic in WWE, and he wants it in UFC. Yeah. That's where he wants. So he's going to commercialize both companies to that demographic. Now, WWE haven't commercialized themselves to that demographic for a long time, and I can understand why. When they went public, they got all these people they got to please. So I can understand why they put a more friendly atmosphere on the club, on the company. I can get it, because it made them more money and they could please everyone apart from the fans. But we always are the ones that don't matter at this moment in time.
I agree.
But I think this will benefit from for that. I think like SmackDown at times have tried to go down a bit of a more adult, darker route on Fox, where Raw always seems like the more family friendly wrestling side of it. You know, even because I've always said you can do a darker PG product. You can always do it, but it won't work in wrestling. That's the problem. And I think they need to change that. I think that because that demographic 18 to 36 that Ari's after on both franchises, I think commercially UFC and that will have similar commercial products going on.
Yeah.
Then the negatives, unfortunately, is the amount of people that are going to lose their jobs in the WWE behind the scenes, because unfortunately that happens in these sort of massive mergers, billions of pounds, massive companies coming in, merging it together. They go want their guys. It's like when a football club gets taken over, isn't it? When a football club gets taken over, they get rid of everyone. They want their people in. It's just the way it is. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. I think WWE do need to slim down their roster a bit, because I think they got wrestlers there they don't want to do anything with, and they're just paying them just not go anywhere, which is silly to me.
Agreed.
if you're not going to use these guys, just let them go. If they're not making you money, just let them go. Your roster's too big, and you're not using enough people. And I think with that, you'll get a better product because you're only getting the guys that they really want to show on telly then. And then with that, you're going to get a better product. So, yeah, they're the positives and negatives, really. I mean, the negatives on UFC thing, I secretly think UFC fighters might be a bit peed off with this merger. Because they will see that the fake combat sport in wrestling is now part of their company, part of their merger. And we know UFC fighters do not like WWE guys or whoever they are coming over to their world thinking they're the hard men and stuff like that. And I think UFC guys don't like this at all.
I don't think Dana White does either.
I'm sorry, Dana don't. I know Dana likes Vince McMahon, and he learned a lot from Vince McMahon. Dana says it himself. But
yeah, he has.
Dana and Vince in the same room. Jesus Christ, that is ego overload.
It's so
storylines. Dana,
yeah,
Vince, it's go happen. I'm telling you.
That'd be so fucking funny. It's on a grand scale.
Dana will be on WWE programming. There's got to be some kind. They will invent a story in this whole thing about Dana White and Vince McMahon. It should happen as well. I want to see it.
The centerpiece of the thing will probably be Brock Lesnar, just for banter's sake.
Yeah.
who gets the rights to Brock
Lesnar? Because when Brock's contract comes up now, they can go, right, I've got two options now because you're all going by the same P. There you go, writes itself, don't it? Writes itself.
I can see it now. A custody of Brock Lesnar ladder match between Vince and Dana White.
There you go. I'll get eyeballs on your telly. I'm telling you that right now.
It'd be funny. For me, I'm going to say like Matt. Obviously, speaking of positives and negatives. For me, it's like the positives. For me, is definitely like the massive increase in the finances will definitely allow them to increase like their production sets and their costs, obviously, whether it goes international or if it stays in the North America. Another one for me is the potential to explore different means of producing wrestling, whether going to streaming, which obviously is still a massive talk with Amazon and Disney Plus. Obviously, that's a big massive talk. That could certainly be groundbreaking because it's not the only wrestling company that does, but it looks into streaming. There are several already do that. It would give you something to consider. My negatives is the possibility that you could lose the casuals again, which they were coming back in, but if you lose them for a second time, then you're insane. And the other negative is for me, I think they can make their production so much better, but they could really, I think they might increase and overload their schedule again, which could really divulge, which I think might be a massive mistake.
Yeah, the production thing, like you said, is a big one though, because if you look at UFC, I've always had this issue with UFC. Yeah, I love UFC.
Yeah,
but I've always had the same issue. You don't know what arena they're fighting in because it always looks the same.
Yeah.
Now they could be in MSG or they could be in, I don't know, in the Pepsi Arena or whatever it is, yeah, and it looks exactly the same on your TV. You know what I mean? Because Dana likes it like that. He likes them just coming out of the tunnel, no Titantrons, none of that sort of stuff. Coming out of a tunnel, walking into an octagon, and they fight. It's just fighting. He doesn't really like that over the top Hollywood production, does he? And
yeah, I'll just be 2 seconds. I'm being sure.
Yeah, no way. And that's my only issue with the whole production things, like production stuff like that, because Vince likes the over the topness. Vince likes the big pyro, the massive Titantrons, the big setups, but he leaves it for special occasions now, usually SummerSlams, Rumbles, or Manias, because it's a money thing as well. Now, if the money's not going to be an issue no more, and Vince is in control of that, and Endeavor and TKO, the new production company, are in charge of that, then TKO, if Vince wants more pyro now for everyone, better setups, better arena setups, better production, like stop shaking the cameras for one. That does my nutting. When Kevin Dunn ordering them to shake the camera up and down and stuff like that. I think that's that sort of thing. The production will get better with, in my opinion. Yeah, I was just saying there that I think little things that might stop is like Kevin Dunn telling the cameramen to shake the cameras, and I think that will stop. I think I was saying as well, Vince McMahon, he likes the big Titantrons, he likes the big setups, he likes the fireworks, the pizzazz, because as he says, it's sports entertainment, yeah.
Yeah.
But he won't do it because of a cost-effective reasons. It's a lot of money to do this for every Raw, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view.
Now there's no excuse.
Now he's not really in charge of that, and TKO as the brand, and they're worth so much, they can make the production bigger. Like Vince will still be in charge of stuff on the red. Like Dana's in charge of the UFC, and Vince will still be in charge of WWE, but they are not the bosses of their companies.
He has to. They'll have to report now, like to certain individuals, like.
And that is what I think production-wise could be better on WWE, because things like their video packages and stuff like that. No one does it better in WWE. I mean, they do that amazingly. Mm-hmm. They probably do that better in some actual TV companies. What they do for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that Bray Wyatt one was just amazing. No one does that sort of stuff better. And you're like, why don't you just do that all the time? Because you're so capable. And that's what we get so annoyed with. Because you see something like that, and you're so capable of it. You see a good storyline, a Bloodline storyline, you're like, you're so capable of all this stuff. Why don't you just
get so lazy?
Implant it everywhere in your company. Because you obviously can do it, but it's laziness. And I think now that might change a little bit. And with all the stuff coming out as well about, weight divisions, new belts, trios, I think
we're gonna get into all that. We're gonna get into all that actually.
I think that's good.
Yeah, you mentioned weight classes. Now this is going to be. I've already said to you, I'm not a fan of this. Like, I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of the changing of the branding ideas, like the trio stuff, because every company does it. Impact does it, AEW does it, New Japan does it. WWE are missing a trick, but you can certainly do it. And it's everywhere in the indie scene as well. I would really like to see them give it a go. My hesitation about bringing in weight class should only be in for the actual combat sports, like your boxing, where it makes sense. It makes sense for UFC. It makes sense for Olympic athletes because you're designated in the class for Olympic events. So I think if you go for the classes again, it really does feel like you're bridging away from what actually made you what you are, and you're actually going to alienate the fans. I think, what's next? Introducing the WWE welterweight champion Rey Mysterio, because he's 175 pounds, so he actually fits the welterweight division. Like it, to me, it just screams disaster. I would rather just stick with what they've got, but completely change the whole brand and design and make it a little bit more exciting instead of just a big boring W, because that's all you are. I'd like that. I think that little bit of suspense, like a little bit of character, a little bit of edginess, and like edgy when it's done right instead of edgy for clicks. Like they could certainly get something exciting out of this. Like, when was the last time a WWE like a championship in WWE actually looked cool? For me, it was probably 2011 when they brought back the IC title with the white strap. Since then, it was just utter pish. I would like for them to go back to that sort of like classic designs where you're like, look, I can get behind this, and even if it's a terrible match, at least I know at the end I'm still going to see that design because it's mint. Like I want to see that. I want them to test those barriers again, because it's.
Don't you think that's a problem in all wrestling at the moment, though, with their belt design? Because it's all brand, don't it? The brand has to be on the front. Look at AEW belt, the brand's on the front. That New Japan completely changed their belt for some reason because it had to be branded.
I hated
UFC. Look at UFC. UFC's new belts are nowhere near as good as their old belts because it has to have the branding right in the middle of it. I think branding in sports now no matter what sport you're in, branding's like number one thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the
instead of
it's
the
the number one.
product.
They want that, like WWE always said, they want to give their belt. I don't know, bloody Man City win the Premier League. They want to give Man City a belt with the, and they've got to make sure the logo is right at the front. So that's what they're looking at, branding. Unfortunately, but they do need new belt designs. I think that's a thing that's come up as well, isn't it?
It
Changing new
has,
belt
yeah.
designs. Just just change them all up. Just change them all up because they're all the same. That's the problem. Like every title should look completely different from the last one. The
Yeah.
WWE title should not look like the women's title. The World Championship should not look like the Women's World Championship belt because it confuses people.
Yeah.
It should there should be separate. The only one that's different is the WWE title
NX.
and the NXT
Yeah.
titles as well. And just rebrand them, man. Just get them all changed. But that's a problem UFC have got as well. Oh, theirs are terrible as well now. So, but I don't think that's ever going to
Yeah.
change the branding. I really don't.
Yeah. I don't mind a little bit of branding. Like, I don't mind a little bit. Like when WWE brought back the World Heavyweight title in 2002, for example, obviously it's going to be different from the NWA WCW version because obviously you're going to have the WWE logo, but it was so very small and at the very top, so you could focus on what mattered most, and that was the actual crown jewel that was the big gold belt. So I'm like, that's what they should have done when they brought it back. Same with the women's one when they brought the women's version in. Make it so bloody small. It will still stand out to the fans because the fans know what it's going to be anyway. They know it's the WWE World Heavyweight title or the Women's World title. They already know this. But you should be more focused on the actual look instead of, oh, look, the big circle W. And it just ruins it. I'm like, that's not what I want to see. I just want to see the current titles they've got, happy with them. Like the world titles, I don't think they have to necessarily change the world titles, but I would just change that little design. I would make it so much smaller, get it out the road, and just focus on this is how it's going to look going forward. And the WWE titles, God forbid, that thing sucks ass. The Universal title, I hate the fact they just made it mustard gold. I was like, just give it some originality. And I think that is something that they have lost for a long time. But if they can get back to that, then it'd be great. I mean, I'd like if they went back to the old Undisputed title. Like I like the old Undisputed title from 2002. I thought that was nice. Or even if they'd done something like this. Even if they went back to that.
Yeah, the Eagle Winged one.
Yeah, exactly what I was talking about. It's up here. But what am I focused on? I'm focused on this.
The Eagle.
That stands out to me. This part here is completely fine. I don't want it to be this right here and then this is stunted out. I want it to look like it means something.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. But UFC have that same problem. They're, it's UFC right in the middle, big and bold. It's the only thing you see. So, yeah, they got. I just don't. Unfortunately, I never think that's going to change because
I agree.
Branding's the number one thing in sport now. I think, you look at any sport now, they make sure their branding's in front and center of absolutely everything. And I don't see that changing, unfortunately. But they can design the belts in a way that it won't be so offensive, even if they do put it right bang in the middle. They can just design it that it ain't just a belt with the big W in the middle. You can give it a different design, a different look. And I've never understood the WWE logo anyway, because there's no E in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I've never understood. I used to love the old WWF one where they put the WW and the W in the middle and then the F joining it. That was nice, but I've never got. They just leave the E out of it.
Yeah, they could have done it. They could have done it in a similar way. Just add like a little bit at the bottom for the E. Yeah. They could have just done that. Like when they done like the whole slogan of "Get the F out." Well, here's the E right at the bottom. I'm like, well, there you go. I'm like, they could have done that, and it fits really well. Obviously, we spoke about. You briefly mentioned also about people getting let go. Confirmed so far, it's 40 to 50 employees have been let go. This is all done remotely. They were working from home. but these are higher up individuals. So digital media marketing, the head of that's gone. Head of branding is gone. Like communication, marketing, governance, all that is gone. And very, very, very rarely tonight we're going to talk about AEW. But I want to say as well, if I was Tony Khan, personally, I would be looking at obviously her name's Catherine. She was the head of like the branding, the marketing, governance, and all that. I would be looking at somebody like her right now, because when you're looking at trying to engage the North American audience for your own brand, I'd be like, that would be a great asset to have. I would immediately be looking into that. Obviously, it's a shame for all these people that are losing their jobs, but in a means of a industry that's going to continue growing and money is going to constantly be pumped in because fans love what they see, it's a no-brainer. But for all the individuals that are losing their jobs, 50 in one day, within 1 day, 2 days, is massive. Like that is.
The only thing, all these people that have unfortunately lost their jobs, hopefully they've been like obviously well paid and looked after, and they probably all knew it was coming as well. You know, if I worked there and behind the scenes and this merger happened, you probably know, unless you're Nick Khan, Triple H, Vince, you know,
we've all been given big payouts as well.
With executive power, you're probably all gone. That, to be fair, Nick Khan's probably doing an excellent job at the company. You know, so, you know, everyone speaks very highly of Nick Khan. You know, I've been listening to people that don't even work with WWE and know Nick Khan, and because he was an agent for a lot of stars before, wasn't he? And everyone speaks very highly of him. He's a very good in his job. So I understand them keeping their jobs. They were part of this in a way. So yeah, unfortunately, people lost their jobs. There's a lot of people in one day, up to 50 people in one day. It's mad, but I think even they knew when this merger happened. It's a new franchise now under two companies. You know, that person's going to come in and want these people. It's unfortunate in the way of life and the way things is. It's not nice, but it happened in UFC. It was going to happen in WWE when they took over, and you know, and you move on, unfortunately. But it's not nice when people lose their living. But I'm just hoping they gave them good payout, looked after them, and yeah, they're not evil, they're not horrible. It's just that business lifestyle, people. They're not evil, horrible people. They're not like, oh, this is disgusting. They're sacking people from their jobs. If you've got someone who's spent £9 billion buying WWE, do you think you're going to keep your job? I mean, it's just life.
It's unlikely.
It's life,
No,
unfortunately.
I agree.
No one's evil.
It is.
I keep seeing people, oh, evil WWE, evil WWE. It's nothing actually to do with WWE. It's
true.
It's Endeavour.
Yeah, Endeavour they're ruthless for this. Like, I agree. Obviously, I've been looking into when they took over the UFC, because also that was at the time like I just watched UFC for UFC regardless of the merger. I just wanted to watch people get their heads caved in. But like, I went back and just had a look into it, and I was like, well, that's the circumstance. Obviously they're going to enforce their takeover in the right way. Like with this merger, they're going to enforce who gets what position, who gets what. In terms of reporting as well, in terms of like executive positions, on the TKO board of directors, WWE only has 2 representatives, and that's Vince and Nick Khan. So Triple H will no longer serve on the board of directors. He was serving on the WWE board of directors. He now reports directly to Nick Khan. He'll still be head of the creative, but he reports directly to Nick Khan now. So
this is all right.
Yeah,
I don't see a problem with that. Let Triple H do his job. Let him just be head of creative, not worry about anything. Write the stories, write the feuds, write the matchups, write TV. Give it to Nick. Nick gives his say so, and you carry on. I don't see nothing wrong with it personally. I think you making a lot of it, but Triple H has got a lot of things to blame for since he's taken over as well. That people always think is Vince's fault, and it's just not.
I like doing that for comedy because it winds up drones. But you know, like the proper ones have got their head switched on. Understand it. I'd hate to wind up drones, but no.
Vince is obviously back. Vince is obviously back because why is this match happening? You do know Triple H learned everything from Vince McMahon, yeah?
Yeah, like I mean,
and Triple H writes boring TV. You've only got to go and watch back NXT Black and Gold, yeah. Weekly Wednesday shows of NXT weren't great, but their pay-per-views were can't miss. And
yeah, there was a period where the TV was genuinely shit. There was.
And their pay-per-views were absolutely amazing. Like you couldn't miss them. And now WWE is a bit like that. Monday, SmackDown and Raws are sometimes they're okay. I don't think they're bad. They're just like
they're losing their essence.
Yeah, but they're mostly the pay-per-views are like you can't miss. Something happens, you're seeing quality. And that's just the way Triple H writes for TV. And I think if you look at it going forward, TV is what it is now because ratings are not. I know people go back, like Raw's ratings, 20 years ago were like 11.5, and you're never going to see them numbers again. But 20 years ago there was only 7 TV channels. It's we live in a different world now where everyone streams. No, look, I don't watch TV. I can't remember the last time I watched TV. I stream everything.
Yeah,
we live in that world now, and people don't want to pay for things either. And it's just the way. It's just the world we live in now.
It's where we're catered. It's what we're catered to now, and I think that's a big thing. And you spoke about like ratings, and obviously people use. I hate when people use ratings for tribal points, because I'm thinking if that's your argument for why one product is better, then there's something wrong with you. Because I said it on the AEW Dynamite 200 show that I did with Davian about a month and a bit ago, 2 months ago. I was like, for example, like we could have say 1,000 people watching this show tonight, right? There isn't, but hypothetically, you could have 1,000 people watching, but the show could generally be so boring, but that could be my fault. You know what I mean? That could generally be my fault why it's such a bad show. But you could still have 1,000 people watching. But then you can also have 1 to 10, maybe 1 to 20, maybe maximum 50 people watching, and it could be fucking amazing. But the one that's going to be remembered is the one with 1,000, because it's the bad show. And then what's the first one they talk about? You had good numbers, but was it good or not? And then it's always that diversion tactic, and I'm like, that's wrong to use. So the past couple of weeks, obviously, Raw has been, as you said, it's been iffy. It's been a mixed match. This last week, obviously, was the last Raw of the control of the McMahon family, the final ever. Like after this, they will no longer have the control and stake, so it's their last ever show. You want to go out with a bang.
Yeah,
it went out with a banzai drop, but it was a decent show. Wasn't great, but it was actually decent to watch.
I thought it was very story-based, this Raw one.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. But the ratings dropped to 1.3 million. Yeah, but exactly, the Monday Night Football was on for the NFL, and it was a debut match as well. So that got all the information, like that got all the ratings, and rightfully so. Yeah. But you've got absolute melts in the IWC and all that are going like, oh, Raw ratings dropped, so Raw's on the decline. And I'm like, do you even pay attention to what's going on? Like, and people do the same.
Reece, they don't watch. I have this all the time with people that review shows, and they go, like, and you can tell they haven't watched it, straight away. Yeah. People comment, "Oh, Raw's dead," and I was like, "Oh, did you watch it? What did No, I don't watch that. I ain't watched that show for you." So, how can you comment something when you don't watch something? It makes no sense to me. And Raw weren't actually that bad. I thought there were some good points of Raw this week.
Yeah, but I agree.
It competed with Monday Night Football, and in America, that's just impossible to do because that's their number one pastime. So you never go.
Yeah, you're never going to beat.
Don't matter what you do. You could have Austin, Rock, Hogan, everyone back, and you can bring JR back on commentary. Linda McMahon can come out in the middle of the ring and say the Stone Cold is coming out of retirement and all that, and you still get a 1.1 rating. But it still can be you can't believe you witnessed that show. You're like, my God, this is the greatest Raw I've ever seen. But it's got a 1.1 rating because it went against a juggernaut in America's pastime. This is what
Exactly.
people don't seem to understand. And like
Exactly.
NXT, I like NXT. I actually think NXT is one of the best wrestling shows on TV. I really do, out of any company.
NXT's good.
I
NXT's
think
consistently good, yeah.
I think it's very attitude era-ish, right? NXT. And Shawn Michaels, for me, writes better TV than Triple H.
People by a mile. By a mile.
People might come for me now, but I think Shawn Michaels knows how to write TV a little bit better. And their ratings on Tuesday was only 200,000 less than Raw.
Yeah, it's true.
And
that contributed to the main event as well.
And they were both very good shows. I enjoyed them all.
Yeah.
Ratings. We live in a world where people got. I think you don't ignore ratings because there's still a standard bearer when you go to upgrade after your things coming to end and you need a new service to show your programs on. So ratings do for that, but they're also like, we know we're not going to get a 4.0 because we're competing against 75 other channels, 20 million different streaming services now. You know, you're just not, and everyone DVRs if in America, or Sky Plus is it here, records it. So not everyone's watching it live, but I guarantee you more people are watching it than the numbers say, because I don't think they can gather the record. They can start to gather who DVRs things or records it or whatever.
Yeah, they can get that. Yeah,
but it's harder to judge more than it is live viewers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I've only watched Raw live once this entire year from like Macho like TV box, and that was the week that I done the watch alongs. That was it. I've been watching it from like my PTV and streaming it from there. I do that because it's easier. It's not that I'm not contributing to the ratings in any shape or form. It's just it means I'd have to go downstairs, watch it, and then come back upstairs. I'd rather just watch it from here.
And there's how a lot of people are watching it now as well, and you can't get ratings from that.
No, but then again, whether I'm contributing to the ratings or not, I'm not bothered about that. What I'm at least wanting to see is I want to see something good, something effective, and that's why I don't like the ratings arguments, because people use it for this. Like people always like we'll do the same thing on like a Dynamite or Collision. They can be good shows, but if they don't hit 1 million or they don't hit more than 500,000, it's going to be, oh, the product's dead, cancel it. Or like if Impact, for example, doesn't have a good show because they're not in the biggest arenas, oh, but they're not getting those ratings, so like they're a dead company, they're shit and all that, so don't watch them. I was like, well, that's wrong. That's their production cost, because that's what they're limited to. Like that's what they've got no other choice to do, because let them not past decisions, they're still rebuilding from, but at least they're actually looking good, and you're gonna get that. And so like no matter what ratings are done, for me, I couldn't give a shit what the ratings are. I want the product to be good, and if the product isn't good, I'm not gonna watch.
I've always said that. I was like, you can have the best wrestling match in the world, and someone could go to a TV taping, go to a show, no matter where it is, and literally see the best wrestling match of all time. But if no one saw it, is it the best wrestling match of all time? And this is where the rating things everyone talks about. But look, Collision is an excellent wrestling show since it started. You know, I mean, it started for the wrong reason. Started for the wrong reasons, in my opinion, because I don't think Tony Khan's a very good. I don't think Tony Khan's a very good owner. I think he's just a fan. But but Collision is a very good wrestling show. But they're not going. The ratings ain't going to show that because it's Saturday night. You know, Saturday night you're up against boxing, UFC, WWE pay-per-views. You know, and plus people out on the piss, clubbing, going
college
to
football in America.
College football. It's just their ratings are never. But do you think they don't know that? Of course they know that. Are they ever going to hit 1 million? Probably not. Is Dynamite going to hit 1 million? Dynamite struggles, man, and it's not that they're not a good wrestling company. It's just because, unfortunately, the ratings are what they are. You know, they got diehard fans who consistently watch it. Their ratings don't drop. Their ratings stay the same. Consistent fans watch it all the time. So the companies that like Warner Brothers are like, well happy with this because the ratings might not be going up or down, but they're consistently the same. So you're doing a good product because you're the same people coming back all the time.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, Dynamite this week done 888,000. NXT was just under 40k less than that, and that's a 0.41. That's what Dynamite did. I'm like, it's like you said, good product.
Mm.
That's the thing. Like, when you look at it, pay-per-view wise, WWE completely trumps AEW by a mile. I'm never going to argue that in any shape or form.
You'll get a change either.
But when it comes to weekly TV, when you look at Raw and SmackDown, Dynamite and Collision completely trump Raw and SmackDown, in my opinion. It's better produced TV. That's what they seem to do. They're better producing TV than they are pay-per-views, even though they've had some really good pay-per-views. It just doesn't get close to it.
WCW is exactly the same thing. WCW. I mean, I grew up watching WCW. WCW's production on Nitro was amazing, yeah. And on
I'm rewatching from '95 onwards. I've already watched it so many times, but I'm rewatching it for the beginning.
Yeah, and it made you tune in every week, right? And the production was excellent, yeah. But the problem with WCW, and it might be the same problem with AEW in the long term, is that they put everything in TV, like everything. Like all the big matches, all the big stories, all ended on TV instead of ended in their pay-per-views.
Agreed.
Because Tony Khan wants the viewers. He wants the TV. He wants everyone to watch the TV, and that's where
which is understandable.
And that's his selling point. He knows pay-per-views. He's a company that's 3 years in. TNA, Impact, Ring of Honor, they've all tried it, and they can't touch WWE for pay-per-view. WWE have been doing pay-per-views since pay-per-view started. You got to remember, people forget this. Vince McMahon was one of the people that invented pay-per-view.
True.
He's one of the people that invented. Like Comcast invented pay-per-view, but no one ever thought of putting sports on pay-per-view, and Vince did. And he's been doing that for 40 years. No one's going to come along and just outrun that. Just not. And I think Tony Khan knows that. So he just puts everything on TV, and that's his selling point. That's how he sold Wembley out. And you know, it was from TV. You know, it's not from pay-per-views. And
correct.
If you watch, I mean, I watch because I've got a certain thing like you have probably that I can watch all these things on, right? That I can watch all these things on. I watch. I'm not a big AEW fan because of Tony Khan. I just can't stand him. But
completely understandable. Yeah, completely understandable.
But I watch their products. I like some of their wrestlers, yeah, and I like MJF and Daniel Bryan's and stuff like that. I don't really like any of the Young Bucks. They can suck a dick for as far as I'm concerned. But I like them all, right? And I watch it. And I like their TV, but their pay-per-views, I don't like them. They don't give you no breathing room. It's a match. And it's like, can I breathe? Can I relax a little bit here? Do you actually care about it? And then some of the matches are, why are we having this match on a pay-per-view when this is a TV match? You know, why isn't that on Dynamite? Why is this on pay-per-view? It don't make sense to me a lot of the time, but that's the ratings thing. That's the ratings thing. And Warner Brothers and Fox and USA, they know what they're doing and they're happy with all the products. So when, as you say, when people keep arguing about ratings online, it doesn't matter. Because as far as Fox are concerned, USA are concerned, and Warner Brothers are concerned, their ratings couldn't be better.
Absolutely. And speaking of obviously Fox are looking at walking away from SmackDown because they don't want to pay the $300 million to retain SmackDown, which to be fair, I completely understand. But then you've got Amazon and Disney who are like, well, if you don't want it, we're happy to pay it, and we'll bring you and we'll bring you on to streaming.
Go to Amazon. Just do not go to woke Disney.
He's living in his grave. Like, here lies woke Disney.
As soon as WWE goes to Disney, Rhea Ripley would be men's heavyweight champion. I'm telling you right now.
I said that for a joke in my men's group, my pals group chat the other day for wrestling. I was like, it won't be long before Rhea Ripley holds the men's women's title.
If we go Disney, they will, because all the Jedis have to be female now, and all the world heavyweight champion. Yeah, I'm being a sexist prick. Come at me, right? And all the women champions like Rhea Ripley and all that. Oh, they can win a men's championship. Why not? Do not go to Disney. Go to Amazon.
I think it's more likely. The only thing we know with Disney, I think the crazy thing is though, is like Amazon are really good at streaming, but I actually think Disney is slightly better. My only thing with Amazon's production is Amazon have got so much investment in it. But see, when you watch, like, because obviously we watch football, see when it's watching like a football game on Amazon, it looks like the quality looks dead shit, and it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes behind. And I'm like, if you're spending all this money to show this content live, you'd actually expect it to be on time, even though it's streaming. You'd be expect, or even if it's like 20 seconds out, not 4 or 5 minutes where you're looking at your phone, you're like, shit, notification, who's scored, and you're like, fuck off.
That happens a lot on. Hopefully they can sort that out, because that is definitely an issue. But
yeah,
just don't go to Disney, because what I've heard is that Disney are just interested in SmackDown, not anything else. They're just interested.
It's SmackDown, yeah.
Just putting SmackDown on. And the thing is, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. You got an answer to this. What's going to happen with WWE and Peacock now that Endeavor own the company? It's not now. Peacock did the deal with WWE, didn't they?
Yes.
When WWE were a separate organisation that were run by the McMahons. So where's that deal lie now with Peacock? Because now that contract, is it null and void now because WWE is now Endeavor and it's TKO?
It's still in force. It'll just be transferred over to it'll just go across with the new organization, because that's still
so long to do, ain't it? That's why
yeah.
take so long.
It's still in effect. Peacock will still run with them, same as their WWE network. It'll still be in effect with that as well, like in close collaboration, because that's where you're getting the content from. I don't see any change from that personally. Yeah, it'll still be the same.
How long away are we till we get into an Endeavor networking that just has UFC and WWE on? Because you've got to feel like that is what they want.
Oh, I think you're gonna. I think at some point you're gonna have a full-on Endeavor network. Yeah, and
network that has all on WWE, UFC, and I think they own some other sports franchises as well.
It's going to be so expensive. It's obviously right now if you pay for the WWE network, it's still $9.99 a month. But if you get, I don't know how much it is for Peacock, but you can still do the same thing for Peacock. But it's all organized in seasons. I hate that shit. But that's why I don't use it. But when you look at the cost, if you get that, I reckon that the whole membership might be 20, 30 quid. But it'll probably be you're paying it for. You could pay for a full year instead of doing it monthly, and you'll be stuck in Viaplay, which is a fucking disgrace anyway. I think the Endeavor. I think a possible Endeavor network will be the exact same thing. It'll be once you're paid in, you've got to do the full thing, and you won't be able to cancel it until you've done the full year's worth of payments, which I think is wrong.
Yeah, but if you're getting WWE pay-per-views, TV, UFC TV pay-per-views, and their extras, I think that's something they definitely go look to. But they're trying to get, SmackDown needs a new home, so it'll be interesting.
Money is so big.
I think SmackDown will go to FX. I think that's the rumors right now. So
I think so. Yeah.
1.5 billion. It's mad.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if NBC come in as well.
Yeah. Well, NBC own USA Network, don't they? So
yeah, they still go back to. I think you still just could, but that would mean that you've got Raw and SmackDown on the USA Network.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could I'm not going to say they can't afford it, but realistically, would they have the means to afford both? I don't know. I think it would be quite interesting.
Because WWE always used to be on the USA Network, and then they left for TNN, didn't they?
TNN, then Spike, and then back to USA.
Because the reason they went to TNN and Spike is because they wanted to be more of an adult content, and USA Network want to be more family orientated.
Yep.
And I think that's
why Impact done better than them as well for so many years on TV. Impact for that late 2000s, they had Spike, and Spike were like, well, fuck it, we'll go for it.
Yeah, when they were on Spike, Impact, that's when the Impact TNA was at their absolute best when they was on Spike. The only time they messed up is when they decided to go Monday nights and compete with Raw. And
the funny thing is, though, is they were still, funnily enough, competing with Raw, even though they were on a Thursday night. They were still competing, and they were still doing better. They were doing better than both.
Thursday,
yeah. The Thursday night shows were doing better. It's crazy. They shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. They should have done it. The value for money, or your value for what you're getting for investment, is certainly going to be big if they do go streaming. If they do go streaming, though, the amount of content they could pump out would be amazing. I think one good
do anything.
Yeah, my only thing is though, because obviously you'll still have to do it. Obviously, if you watch like Impact or if you watch Dynamite or Collision, the one thing, or even actually I suppose Rampage as well, the one like WWE don't use it, but you do get a lot of picture-in-picture stuff. I wonder if you'll see that, so you're not missing anything when they go to ad breaks or if it's anything significant.
They get it in America on SmackDown. We don't get it in this country because it's not allowed, is it?
Yeah,
You can't. They don't allow screen on that sort of thing
ads
on
have got
adverts.
to get their money.
But in America, yeah. So because I watch SmackDown from an American broadcast, and they as soon as it goes to ad break, they still got a little picture for the wrestling and the advert around it. So it works
Yeah,
quite well.
I like the picture. It certainly has its use where I'm not missing anything. Then I can just ignore the shitty adverts that mean fuck all to me anyway.
But streaming's different, man. Streaming ain't got the same rules that TV has. So they can get away with a little bit more. I just want WWE to be better, more edgy. Because I've always said it. I think Vince has a better product when he goes edgy. I think Vince himself is the edgiest human being in existence and doesn't really want to be friendly, family friendly. But he did it because the money coming in was ridiculous. WWE make more. WWE's product maybe not as good as 20 years ago, but they make far more money now than they did 20 years ago. So
agreed.
I don't blame him for doing it that way, but you know, I always have when we have Hell in a Cell matches, cage matches, and elimination chamber matches, and no one gets busted open. I'm like, what is the point?
Yeah, or like it feels like if you get hit by a steel chair, like you don't even like you don't see any effect. It's just like 2 minutes later, they're completely fine, and I'm like, where's the selling? I'm like, where is all that? It feels so shit. And
well,
I'm like, nah.
If they're not bringing violence and blood into it, asking the wrestlers to then sell a steel chair is a bit difficult, ain't it? Because you're like, well, we're not getting busted open. That would bust you open. So why am I selling that? It don't make no sense. And I don't want blood there all the time. Like my one thing with AEW is I think there's too much blood for no reason a lot of the time.
I like blood when it's used in the right way.
Use it right. Cage matches, someone should bust because you got metal all around you. It's violent. It's meant to be the purpose of it. Hell in a Cell match. It's the most violent match WWE do. And there should be blood. Elimination chambers, there should be blood. Do that for them, and I think people will be happy. Swearing on TV. I don't want to see grown men saying "but." You know what I mean? I don't want to see a 40-year-old man slagging off another 40-year-old man and having to use the word "but."
Yeah, call him an asshole.
Yeah, swear a little bit.
Like kids swear all the time. Like
swear anyway. 7-year-olds.
Exactly.
You think what 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds are doing in schools?
I bet yours do all the time. Well, Liverpool are shit, Dad. Obviously, that's true.
There you go. It's just I think they need to get a bit more edgy. WWE. If they get a bit more edgy, we talk about the ratings. But if WWE got a bit more edgy, and people start to hear, "Oh, WWE's got edgy again,"
It'll explode.
Their ratings will go through the roof. People will come back because I think people are fed up with this PG soft version.
It comes from the likes of Cena and all that, who was like, "Well, fine, I'll embrace it," and I'm like, "You used to be cool, like you used to, and now and it's sold out. You absolute fraud." And
stop calling Cena the GOAT, WWE, please.
Don't worry, I'll never call him the GOAT. I'll never call him the GOAT.
Cena's a great guy. He's obviously a really great bloke, and what he's done for the company and what he done, he's obviously very good at his job, and he's not a lazy athlete. He puts everything into everything he does. I don't know when he ever sleeps. So I always give John Cena his credit, man. But he ain't the GOAT. Come on. You got your Austins, your Rocks there, and stuff like that. It's not Macho Man's, Hogan's, Mr. Perfect.
I mean, like he certainly contributed to an era, and he did hold down an era where they really needed someone to hold it down. But let's be real. If Brock Lesnar didn't have issues in 2004, he ain't getting close to Lesnar. Like he isn't.
I've been saying this for years now. Lesnar is the only WWE wrestler. Actually, I think he's the only pro wrestler in America that looks like a superstar and acts like a superstar. I've been saying this forever. He looks and acts like a special person, like an actual superstar. So when Lesnar comes out and he's there, you're like, whoa, you know, there's an aura about this guy. He's special.
It's serious. Like
Yeah.
it's that serious vibe, but you don't know what to expect. Is it going to be the same thing where Lesnar just beats the living piss out of someone, or is he gonna produce an absolute wild moment like a boombox, or is he gonna come out like a cowboy? Like, is he gonna do something bizarre that you can't really expect? But what he has though as well is he's legitimate. He's an absolute tank. Like, he would, and that's something about him. And I think when you talk about like guys that look like superstar, obviously like they're bloody everywhere. But you know, like fans of Roman are going to say, "Oh, Roman's this," and I'm like, well, yeah, it took them close to 8 years to actually get him to that level. When every other time you're getting suffering succotash as a pro one, I'm like, this guy sucks. And I couldn't care less.
2002, day one.
And he looked like it. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first thing he did. It was that spine buster to Al Snow.
Yeah, killed him.
Yeah, and then he made Spike Dudley got sent to, like, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, he got sent to the Shadow Realm. Not once, not twice, but 3 times over, he got sent to the Shadow Realm. And I'm like,
Maven took the first ever F5 as well.
Yeah, the best. Yeah. Hogan getting absolutely ripped apart as well, like blood and everything. I'm like, this is what you want. This is what you want to remember. And I'm like, they had other guys at that time as well, like a legitimate sense you could build around. But like, obviously Brock had issues, but then
legitimate. It could literally, you know, we've seen big wrestlers, 300-pound wrestlers that look like Greek gods, but you know they're wimps. You know they're
not.
Didn't
back up.
No, but would I go up to Lesnar in the airport and call him Saint in his face? No. He'd rip the arm off.
You wouldn't even go up to, like, I'd hate to wonder what his mental states would be in a situation, but you wouldn't even do it to like Kurt Angle, even though he's legitimately fucked.
Angle will kill you as well, but he's next.
He's the exact same.
Yeah, he'll kill you.
You'd probably have a chance if you just hold on to his neck, like you just grab on and be like, well, fucking try and German suplex me now, mate.
If you could grab it. I mean, why do you think Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar had the biggest pushes in their first years? You know,
legitimate
because they're both legitimate. They're both legitimate, and they took the pro wrestling like it was nothing. You know, and that's why they're superstars. You know, that's exactly it. And we don't have that in this day and age.
It's ironic because you look at him. You spoke about other guys who took it seriously in a different way, obviously, like guys who were legitimately trained by individuals, but also they did do amateur stuff. Another one that I always come back to, because he's, for me, the GOAT when it comes to technical work, is Bret Hart. Like, not many people think about this, but like Bret Hart was an amateur wrestler. And he spoke about this himself in his documentary, like Wrestling in the Shadows. Like one great line that he said was, I was got trained by my dad, and then obviously I moved into the amateur group, but I was still watching my dad train these guys in the underground. Well, he was literally training them in the dungeon. That was pretty much underground anyway, it was his basement. But he was watching his dad stretch these guys, and they were broken half. And he's like, I took it, and I hung in there. Then he went, I had this one moment where I was a young kid, and I was defending my brother. The guy was bigger than me, and I knocked him out. And he's like, well, I'm this tiny guy up against a big guy. He's squaring up to my brother, so I punched him in the face. Made him cry, and I was like,
yeah, Bret was legitimately tough. He was a hard man. He just don't seem as he wore black and pink and we had the long hair, and he was a good-looking guy. So he weren't seen as a tough man. But if you read stories about Bret, he was a tough guy behind the scenes.
Major difference between him and Shawn Michaels, as we know from '95, when he got ripped apart. He got ripped apart in a nightclub, which we all spoke about, which we all know about. But here's another funny thing when you speak about that legitimate sense with guys who were pushed. There was one guy, who was pushed incredibly hard, who came from the UFC, and it didn't work because he just couldn't adjust. It was Ken Shamrock. This would be a perfect time to put him in the Hall of Fame, funnily enough, next year.
Ken, I think Ken will go in the Hall of Fame. Actually, the problem with Kenny is boring. That was the problem.
He was the Lance Storm of UFC.
Yeah, he had no personality, but he was that real first crossover superstar. I mean, that's credit to him. UFC. He was like their superstar in UFC then.
Dan Severn and all that followed over as well.
And then he made that crossover, and it was a big deal. I remember when he refereed WrestleMania 13 against Austin and Bret Hart, which is still the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. I don't care what anyone says. And
it's up there for me. It's in the top 2 for me.
Yeah, and I didn't know who Ken Shamrock was. And then I was like, it took me a couple of years later when I started watching UFC. I was like, that's Ken Shamrock. And then you learn who he is, and great crossover. He was just boring. That was Ken's problem. He took the best chair shot of all time, though. Yeah.
Oh, like that chair shot from The Rock was.
He suffers dizziness from that to this day, don't he?
Yeah, I think
mad.
I'm surprised that chair shot didn't smack some personality into him, because that should have done the trick.
Yeah, because Rock, apparently Ken talks. I saw him talk about it with Chris Van Vliet and
Chris Van Vliet. That was a brilliant interview. Yeah. He
was talking about it with him, and Rock hit him because Rock didn't want to do it, and Ken's like, "No, I want you to go full force." Rock's like a 265-pound man, so you really want me to go full force? And you're like, "Yeah, just do it." And Ken was like, "Shit." After he done it, he was like, "Oh no, that."
Ken's like, "Do I want to be a pro wrestler, or do I want to be Mick Foley before he became famous?"
He just sat there on his knees, arms behind his back, and put his head out. And it's like, you're mad.
It was genuinely it's the best. It's up there for like the best chair shots I've ever seen. Like the other one, obviously, when GBL rapped on through the Blue Meanie, which was absolutely mental. But or the one where Taker smacked GBL at SummerSlam. But that one does stand out for that same reason of. That's what you want to see from an edgy side, where these guys aren't afraid to put themselves out there to make product better and showcase their own ability. But like my thing is like you've got to do it with individuals who are actually going to be who aren't afraid to take on the challenge. I look at some of the current roster, and this is my thing about people who should stay and who should go. Well, we get to talent. Obviously, Elias has confirmed he's gone, but when you look at that current roster. There isn't a lot of guys that you can genuinely say, yeah, I trust that guy to hit somebody with a genuine chair shot and it looks believable. Most of them just look like pussies.
Yeah, a lot of wrestlers are there. Let's face it. But yeah, cuts. So do you think there'll be any wrestling cuts, or is it all going to be behind the scenes?
I'm thinking it's mostly going to be behind the scenes, but
I think there might be a few.
Yeah, I think we may see like the odd.
Or is it going to just be the ones that are coming out of contract now and haven't got long left and they just won't re-sign? I think that'd be more of the.
I think that'd be more sensible. Yeah. I think some of them must have been told, like obviously, like you spoke about earlier on about some folk being told like remotely, well, the merge is happening. There's potentially jobs not staying. Like you may be going. I think there will be the instances where we'll have that. I think one of them that has to go is Matt Riddle. Even though he's a legitimate guy as well, I think he has to go. I think he's a big issue in himself, and I think he also needs to go and get serious help. Because when you look at what happened with him recently in the news, like massive allegation. I don't know what the outcome is. We may not know the outcome.
The second big allegation against Matt Riddle in couple of years.
Yeah, he's a walking time bomb. I genuinely think he's a walking time bomb, and he will do something he absolutely will regret. And I'm thinking you can't have someone like that in your organization. And it's dangerous to have someone like that around. I'm not gonna say he's gonna end up like her, but he could end up like Sonny.
What, doing porn?
Well. He is with one.
I know he's with one. But no, yeah.
I mean, like the actual serious dangers to society. I think he could end up being like that. Obviously, I hope that's not the case. Like, she is an absolute psycho, and she deserves to be in prison.
She's a bit weird, isn't she?
She is a complete lost cause, and I feel sorry for Chris Candido that he had to be associated to that. But I think I look at him in general, and obviously, I don't want him to be like that. But when you've had so many issues like that in your personal life, and you've got so many problems, it's either you overcome them or you get worse.
And Dana didn't like him either.
Yeah.
Dana can't stand him. So, yeah, he's stuck. Yeah, I think he might get cut. I think wrestlers have got a year or under or come out to renewal. I don't think we'll get their contracts renewed. Unless they're a superstar, unless they like money, then obviously they get their contracts renewed because that's just life. If you make a company money, it don't matter how much of an arsehole you are, you get deals. That happens. That don't just happen in wrestling. That happens in UFC, for goodness sake. That happens everywhere. You know what I mean? If you make money, you're
guaranteed for life. Yeah.
So there's going to be some, unfortunately. I can't even think right now. I think Elias is definitely gone. I think he's definitely gone. His
contract is definitely up there. The tag team from NXT as well, they're gone.
Yeah, the Liverpool and Blackpool guy. They're AEW banned. But I've ever seen a team that's more AEW banned in my life. It's them two. They go straight into the Combat Club straight away.
Yeah, they're a good team as well. I was quite surprised they just let them go. I thought they were doing quite well.
One geezer's a Scouser, and I think the other guy with the longer hair, he's actually from Blackpool. He's actually from Blackpool. So they go straight into Blackpool Combat Club. That makes sense business wise. But
legitimate sense as well, yeah.
Who comes? So we know Nia Jax is back.
Obviously AOP were re-signed a couple of months ago, so we know that they're not on TV yet.
They'll be on TV Monday, guarantee it.
Most likely. Kairi Sane is still. I think Kairi Sane is still finishing up dates, but we know she's re-signed. There is still talks about Jade Cargill. Will she? Won't she? I'd like to know.
I think you don't think it'll happen, but I think it might do.
I'm just not sure if it will. But after the fact that she did put over Chris Statlander on Rampage, she put her over. I'm thinking that's her saying, "I got my live crowd response."
Yeah, and
it's time.
I think Sean Ross Sapp said today, a few hours ago, that WWE are not going to put her in NXT. She goes straight in the main roster.
Oh yeah, anyone that thinks she should be on NXT is deluded.
Like certain JD from New York does, but there you go.
And that's my point.
He's a weirdo, that guy.
I don't pay attention to JD. I've never particularly.
He's a bit. Yeah. 3-year-old man. He's a bit.
I know of him, like, just hearing shit. I avoid him like I avoid him like I would avoid the plague.
I mean, he's one of the biggest wrestling YouTubers. There ain't no doubt about that. But my God, he's
agreed. Yeah.
I think he's so agenda driven. I think it's all. You can tell he's not honest to what he's doing. He does it for his channel. He's not his real faults.
Yeah.
He caught on to something and he just went with it.
Yeah. But, and I'll never. That's what I avoid. I'm not like that. That's the shit that I avoid. But
Jade, I'm telling you what, right now, Jade Gargwell, Bianca Belair, there's your match. There's your future WrestleMania main event.
If she walks in, they say they'll present her like a final boss. No surprise, because she's money. Like anybody who literally thinks Jade Cargill doesn't draw or doesn't get money, go back, because she is great on the mic. She's got great she's got great presentation. Yes, she's slightly green. She's not as, say, great in the ring compared to like a Thunder Rosa, for example, or a Tony.
No.
But she can still work the matches that she's given time for, and it's presented really well, and it works. So I'm like, if you do that, you've got something in. With time, she will get even better. But anybody who thinks she should be in NXT is fucking insane.
No,
just
like her and Tiffany Stratton, and Tiffany Stratton's great as well.
I've always been skeptical of her. I'll admit, I've always been skeptical. I think she was pushed far too quickly, but I've been impressed. Yeah, but I have been impressed for work lately, and even though she is fairly green, I would rather have her on the main roster than Grayson Waller. I like Grayson Waller, but I think he's still too green. His mic work's the only thing that's saving him. It's his in-ring work. I think it's a bit soft.
Grayson Waller's just the next generation Miz.
Yeah, I think he's a bit soft ring-wise. I like him. I think his mic work is really good. But when I look at the individual, that's what I'd like to see. Like Tiffany Stratton, if she goes to the main roster, she could easily hold down Raw herself.
Yeah.
Could. She's got a better character than a better character than Rhea Ripley, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rhea. She's great, but
Jade Cargill was instant on main roster.
Jade, for me, Cargill is more suited to what WWE would do with her than AEW.
More about the gimmick and the storyline.
Yeah, I think I said this about Cody. I said Cody just suits WWE to a T.
Yeah.
Than he does AEW, because AEW fans, I just don't think really bought Cody. That's why he was never cheered. You know, he could never get over the face there. And Cody doesn't want to be a heel. He wants to be the next John Cena sort of thing, the next Hulk Hogan, don't he? That's what he wants to be. And everything about his product and the way he presents himself is so WWE based. And I think he knows that. And I think that's why he went back, because he realizes that. And so I think Jade Cargill will be the same. I think if you book her properly, long-term story booking, which they do now, build it slowly, don't rush it. You could have a great Bianca Belair, Jade. Just it writes itself, don't it? Let's face it. Mm-hmm. Them two write themselves. Athletes, muscular, beautiful, great in like everything that goes with it. It's just, it makes sense to me. It's money, if you ask me. And but she'll be a great addition to WWE.
Agreed. It would be a big loss for AEW's women's division. When I look at who's there, like I would rather have Jade Cargill than Britt Baker personally. I think Britt Baker's not significantly. It's not about disliking anyone in that sense. I do have favourites. I do have people I prefer not to see on TV, but there's some who have just stagnated since situation. So like since Britt Baker lost the AEW women's title a couple of years ago, I don't particularly think she's been as interesting as a character. It feels like it's went down. So I was like,
gave up on her, though, isn't it? It's like they gave up. She don't get so much. I don't like Paige or whatever her bloody name is now.
Soraya, she's gone on her heel tirade over social media, going at people, and I'm like, wow, okay.
I like her ring work. I think she's too safe. I find her a bit obnoxious and boring. I like Toni Storm.
I like what she's doing right now. That suffering like Marilyn Monroe type character. I compared to Marilyn Monroe and Miss Havisham from Great Expectations. I compared it to both of them in a way. Like she's a crossover between both. I really like it. It's a shame that there's no Jamie Hayter. I think Jamie Hayter's outstanding.
Yeah, right. But I talk about there's an elephant in the room here, ain't there? There's an elephant in the room. CM Punk back to WWE. I mean,
yeah, we can definitely get to that in a minute, because obviously that's incomings, outgoings. Yeah. Will he go for Survivor Series? I wonder, because that's a big selling point.
In Chicago, isn't it?
It is.
But I don't know about his. Usually when people get terminated from a contract, they get
he doesn't have a no compete clause. He could walk straight in. Yeah, he could walk riskily straight in.
What? I haven't spoken to you about. What do you think of the Punk situation with what happened? Here's my thing on it. I think, look, I've never liked the Young Bucks, and this shows it more for me. I think they're very technical. I think they run. I think this is why Cody left as well, by the way.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and I'm not. I think a lot of people that ain't massive AEW fans and like marked for AEW come to this conversation as well. That it looks like the Young Bucks act like they run the show. Like they're the show because it is called All Elite Wrestling. You know, it is their thing, and with Kenny and all that. I feel sorry for Kenny, because I think because he's their mate, he gets dragged into it more than he wants to be. I think Kenny wants to be more on the outside looking in than actually.
So do I.
But they drag him in. I actually think the Young Bucks are pussies. I'm going to say it right now. And I think CM Punk is, look, we've known it forever. Whoever's followed Punk's wrestling career since day one, he's a hot-headed. He's just hot-headed.
Yes.
Well, he is.
Yes.
He's egotistical. He's a hothead. And
But he doesn't compensate his beliefs or his
No,
standpoint for
and he
certain
won't
people.
talk, and he won't talk behind your back. He will just come up to you. If you're being an
Yeah.
arsehole, he will come up to you and go, "You're an arsehole." Right? And if you want to lay hands, let's lay hands. That is just how he is.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, the other two dweebs, they look like they just tap-tail to their friend. Oh, Tony, he's saying this again, he's saying this again. And then Tony Khan said in his termination release that he was scared for his life. But CM Punk,
Yeah.
they Brock Lesnar going at you, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at that roster, all due respect to CM Punk, if I was Tony Khan in that situation, there's other people I'm more fearing for my life for. So, like, I would fear for my life if I would fear for my life if Hangman Page come at me.
Yeah.
Like, because he's a nightmare. I'd fear for my life if Adam Cole came at me, because he takes no shit from anybody either. I'd fear for my life if Roderick Strong came at me, provided his neck doesn't give out. Samoa Joe, I would definitely run from that. If CM Punk came at me, I'd just put him in a fucking rear naked choke, and he's going to cry anyway. So I'll put Punk in a rear naked choke, and we'll see if he gets out of that one, and he won't. So I'm like, I find it like, I agree with you in that sense about the Bucks. I like watching the Bucks, but I do have some issues with them, and that is one of them. I completely agree about the Kenny standpoint. I think Kenny just wants to do his own thing. The fact that Kenny wanted to actually work with CM Punk says it all. He wanted to, like I said about Ailey a couple weeks ago. The biggest match in the biggest match in AEW history,
Kenny
unless
Punk.
it would have been Kenny Punk. Yeah, it would have been that would have got you more than 1 million. That would have got you close to 2.
And this is the difference between the two companies. WWE would have made that match.
Yeah.
Because they would have brought this story to reality. They just would have. Because they'll look at it and go, well, everyone knows what's going on. Let's just put it on TV.
Yeah,
because who wouldn't want to watch it? That's why I'm shocked they never put this on TV. They made a whole new TV show for CM Punk just to keep away from the Young Bucks. Vince would be like, no. Let's just put this on TV, man. Everyone knows what's going on. Let's just put it on TV. Everyone will watch.
I agree, and this is my thing, and this is like I always use this argument for people who like, oh, we can't work with each other because we'll fight.
They make money.
I'm like,
I
always refer to, well, Kevin Sullivan used to be married to Nancy Benoit, who was the obviously the deceased wife of Chris Benoit.
You see their last man standing match?
Yeah, but I'm like, obviously, like Nancy and Chris got very close together. They ended up getting together while she was with Kevin, and look where they went. And it was great TV for Nitro. Like that was, but they worked it out brilliantly.
Their match rules because they legitimately hit each other. They got all their frustration. Matt Hardy and Edge did the same thing.
I was coming to that as well. Matt Hardy, Edge, like TNA done it as well. Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle. It fucking rules.
It's money. Punk, I can guarantee you right now, CM Punk and Kenny Omega would have gone, yeah, let's do the match. It's money. We're going to get, you'll get the biggest buy rate this company's ever had. It's money.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to talk about it. No one's going to talk about anything else in wrestling apart from this match. Let's do it.
But then they fucked it by saying, well, he feared for my life, so we have to get rid of him. You don't necessarily have to get rid of him. Like, if you, like, you don't have to get rid of him. You just go, like, there's some things you can do and there's some things you can't do. Can you at least just rein in a little bit? Like, that's what he could have done. He could have just said, can you just rein in a little bit? Like, Punk ain't stupid. Like, if Punk gets told to do one thing, he'll do it, provided you don't set him off. Jack Perry did set him off, and that was really when I done the All-In review. Obviously, I spoke about like that timing. Like, it's quite interesting that on the pre-show you had Jack Perry versus Hook, and obviously I'm sitting there at Wembley, and you see them starting the match right beside that fucking limo. And you're like, what was the one thing that CM Punk said no to Jack Perry about? We're not using real glass to write you off TV. There's other ways to do it. And he does a suplex through real glass. And I'm like, you just know CM Punk is either watching this because he's up first on the actual main show, or he's been told.
Yeah.
And it kicks off. And I'm like,
he just literally went back there and went, why did you do that? You didn't need to do that. We could have put work glass in there wrote you off. You're safe now. Look at you, you're all busted up. And then, you know, for some reason, Jack Perry now thinks he's like Brock Lesnar in disguise, and just like
He's a fucking
it's
wimpano.
another, it's just another bitch. It's just another bitch. And look, I'm not saying CM Punk's innocent at all, but we live in this soft world now, and I do think you need people like Punk around now.
There's times where you don't want him. There's times where you don't want him around.
Yeah,
and there's times where you want that type of person.
When you go back to Triple H's promo about Punk, what was it, 15, 12 years ago, when Punk and him were over their thing. What Triple H, when you look at it now, what Triple H said all that time ago, he was right. You know, it was correct. It is all about Punk, and that's just the way it is with Punk. You have to know that if you're signing into your company.
Is that level of narcissism? Is that level of narcissism? If you don't understand it, you're fucked.
Now, Nick Khan, for me, I know he did this interview when he got asked about Punk lately. I think he threw a bit of shade.
Yeah, that was like a very varied way of saying no thanks.
Yeah, I personally think he does sign. CM Punk, the first real person coming in the Endeavor TKO franchise partnership. Is CM Punk coming in? I don't think there's a bigger name in wrestling right now that they could get in that could cause so many waves in the media.
I think the only other one that would genuinely cause waves, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, it's Kenny. A lot of people think Kenny.
I just don't think he will because of his mates.
I don't think Kenny will go because he still has bad blood from years ago when they completely rejected him, and he's like, "Well, I'm never going back," and he went to Japan.
Yeah,
I don't ever think he'll go. I don't think Kenny Omega will ever turn up in WWE.
No, I think Kenny are the ones I don't think he ever will.
Yeah, same with like sort of Jay White. I don't think you'll ever see WWE and Jay White in WWE. I don't think you'll ever see when his contract runs up in New Japan. I don't think you'll see Will Ospreay or Okada in WWE.
They don't suit. It doesn't go well, does it? There's no point.
Yeah. I think Kenny does because Kenny understands storytelling and he understands wrestling matches. And a lot of people think he isn't good enough. He is. Like Kenny Omega is, my opinion, he is the beat.
The whole thing is he good enough for TV wrestling? Like it's different there because New Japan ain't about the hard cam or anything like that, and you can just go and do a 40-minute match. But Kenny is actually really good at TV. I actually don't think AEW using well enough.
I think if they let him, like, because he used to run everything as well for the women's division for Craig before the brawl out. Like he knew what he was doing. I'm like, give this guy, let this guy do things. Like the fact he's had 2 good matches involving Takeshita and he's willing to put him over twice. He understands about the younger talent who's coming in, who needs to be booked in the right position. He completely understands it, and I'm like, this is the guy that you want to build around. Yeah. Obviously, MJF is there as well. He gets it. I'm like, just go all in on Omega and you will actually see the difference. And I'm like, it's, as you said, it's shit they didn't put Punk versus Omega on TV because it's right there in your face. Like, that is gold. Like, I think even issues with like Hangman Page, I think even though there was issues there, I still think Hangman would have worked with him. I still think they would have worked again.
I literally just think it's the Young Bucks. What they should have done is gone, right. Tony Khan should have gone, right, Punk, what we got to do? You're going to go out there tonight and open Dynamite and you just go shoot. You go shoot. We're going to work it a little bit. There's some things you can't say in your this, right? Just take these words out. But you got free license. Go out there and shoot. You got 15 minutes. Go out there and shoot, yeah? And then let it settle. Let it settle and let the media pick it up. And then next week, we'll have Kenny and the Young Bucks and all that come out and have their response on the following Dynamite. And then straight away, you've got 2 shows there where everyone... It can't be missed Dynamite then because you just let CM Punk do that for 15 minutes, shoot from the hip, nothing else involved all night on Dynamite, no comebacks or anything. And you're like, I've got to watch next week now because I need to. Obviously, the Young Bucks are going to say something back. And then the Young Bucks and Kenny and Hangman, they have their segment. And then there's nothing else. You leave it. You let it stew for another week. And you keep it going and you build and build and build till eventually you have the massive match where Kenny's like, I'm doing this for AEW, I'm doing this for the Young Bucks, I'm doing this Hangman Page, I'm doing this for everything that's right. And then CM Punk's the opponent. And that's how you... How have I booked it?
That's what you generally could have done. You could have had realism and understanding versus just complete narcissism and self-interest. That's literally the tagline: narcissism versus realism. Literally, that is your tagline. Omega versus Punk. Which ideology is right? Because Punk's ideology is full on narcissism. Kenny Omega's all of it was right for AEW. It's always been AEW focused. And I'm like, that's the key thing. And I'm like, you've got something. And then when you speak about like who could come in, who won't come in, I think one thing you've got to know is that opportunity. And when you look at opportunity, strike while the iron's hot is so effective right now as a phrase. And it's always been effective. But this is the right time to go, we're going to strike and we're going to see if we can make something of it. And I'm thinking, just go for it. Make it as outlandish as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what I should have done, man. But look, they didn't. And it is what it is now. But
I think they might live. I think they may regret it. They might not, but they've.
It's just, I literally think Handman wouldn't have minded doing it. Kenny wouldn't have minded doing it. I don't think the Young Bucks wanted anything to do with him.
Especially when it came out reported that they were willing to have talks and work with him again if there was no issues for 6 months. I'm like, you don't have the right to demand like
no.
six like
it's like
who says that?
School. We're looking back on your schoolwork after a few months if you settle down properly. Like, he's a fully grown man. Like, grow up. So,
yeah.
If I'm Punk there, I'm like, fuck you. Like, what of my behaviour after 6 months? If I'm Punk, I'm like, look, if it weren't for me, don't like me getting as many eyeballs on this. So you start giving me a bit of respect.
Yeah, I think they've got their own personal,
and then they're
they've got their own things to sort out, and they need to do that. But I'm like, it's just embarrassing, like for someone like for two individuals who are known in the business, being a great use of tag team wrestling for so long, and you'd think, and they do something monumental where they contribute to the creation of AEW and then where it's come from in 4 years. And the one thing you're going to be remembered for is, besides like your work, is we're willing to work with them again after 6 months of no problems. And I'm like, if that's your attitude and that's your way of thinking, then no wonder Brawl for All In pretty much happened. I mean, it's just Brawl In pretty much. It's just funny because everyone seems to be going with it. Yeah, the sheer cheek for that. It seems like they can go like, well, if the pot's already stirring with Jack Perry, let's see what we can do there. Let's see if we can. If they've got involved with Jack Perry as well, that's made it even worse because he's a twat as well, and like he deserves to be punished just as much as suspension.
Yeah, he should have been terminated as well. The Young Bucks are they're just not likable, man. They might be great in the ring, but I keep saying it. I've always said this: once you've seen one Young Bucks match, you've seen them all. That as how I feel the Young Bucks, I don't think I think they're all about spots and not work. To be perfectly fair, and that's why I don't like them, man. I don't like them, but I agree. I don't know how we got onto AEW stuff.
I think it's still good to have though, because obviously they are, because there's going to be outgoings and incomings from both sides. I think it's really going to be important. It's going to be really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to WWE, and the one thing obviously that I think is now a very important discussion to have is, where is the product going to go, considering what it could have been? And obviously, The Rock obviously was on the Pat McAfee show, which is in Colorado, which, funnily enough, is where SmackDown is tonight. And he said there were plans in place to have him versus Roman at WrestleMania 39. That was confirmed by himself, his own words. And then he did come out following that saying it was nothing about the injuries that concerns him. It's just got to be, it has to fit. It just has to make sense. But then he said, well, WrestleMania 40 is in Philadelphia. the fans can get something up. The exact words were, I've got it all here. So his exact words were, "It's not the injuries I'm concerned about. It's not even it's not even in the schedule. I control the schedule to a large degree. We all know that. It comes down to the reason why and what can we create, something we haven't done for the fans." And then the last thing is, on the Pat McAfee show, The Rock teased the idea of a match with Roman Reigns for WrestleMania 40 next year. There's WrestleMania in Philadelphia. I'm open. The fans deserve something incredible and unprecedented. His own words. And I'm like, this is what could have been, but we didn't get it. Has the opportunity passed, in your opinion?
I'm confused by all this because, like you, I listened to the interview and he sat down with Vince and Nick Khan at the beginning of 2022, I believe he said. Mm-hmm. And they come to a decision. They go for this. WrestleMania 39 in LA makes sense. Rock, Hollywood, and all that sort of stuff. So it makes sense, yeah.
And he is a bigger draw than Roman, but Roman fans won't believe that.
Yeah, and so it made perfect sense. And you're thinking, right, the bloodline. If you're talking about the bloodline, no, Rock's really in charge, ain't he? He is the head of the table. So the whole thing makes sense, and the story you can build up to it would be incredible, and it'd be probably the biggest match in WWE history, without that.
Yeah.
And then obviously things happen in Rock's career where the schedule and that couldn't happen. So it didn't happen. They changed the story. They changed the story really well because it looked like, look, if you go back to before Mania with the story of Roman Reigns and the bloodline, it looked like what we had was what we were getting anyway, the way it was working. So I'll give them credit for that, the way they changed it. The problem is now you had Cody lose at Mania. Now, the reason you had Cody lose at Mania, which I actually think is the correct decision, because if you think about it, Cody had 3 matches, tore his body in half, only came back at Rumble, and then fighting for the title at Mania. For me, it's not enough. So I do get why. You
want more in your investment.
Yeah, it's an amazing main event. Cody's going to be champion. It will happen. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, the man's money. But the problem is now, Cody only wants a WWE title. He's made this abundantly clear. He's not interested in the World Heavyweight Championship. He only wants WWE title. And the way they set everything up on Raw and SmackDown at the moment, with the Usos being split up and Cody being the one who brought Jay to Raw, tells me they've got in mind the way to get Cody and Roman together at Mania. This is the story. This is the beginning of it. Cody, Roman's going to eventually come back and blame Cody for the bloodline being split and Jay and Jimmy being completely split. He's going to blame Cody for it.
Yeah.
He's the one who had the influence to bring Jay to Raw.
Agreed.
But I think Cody will end up going to SmackDown because I don't think Cody's going to win the Rumble. I think that's going to be Gunther.
I agree. I think Cody should have to endure the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I think Cody will face Roman at Mania. But the problem is then if you want Rock at Mania, because if you're Endeavor now and you're TKO and you're Vince and you're Triple H and you're all that company and you're looking at it and think, we got Rock available. The Rock will say you'll do it no matter what against Roman Reigns. You got to do it. You just have to because it's money. Yeah. But then does the title need to be on the line?
Not for me.
Because the bigger thing is the head of the table stuff, yeah? Because you have to have the bloodline storyline completely finished, yeah? And surely the only way you actually finishes it is if the Roman actually loses to someone who is actually head of the table in his family. Losing the titles, if Roman lost the title, it don't mean he's lost the head of the table status, does it? It just means he's not champion no more. He can still run everything.
Yeah, so, I think the title is not as significant to him. He holds it for a reason. But I agree. I think even if Roman lost the Universal title as it is at the moment until it goes back to the WWE title, he could lose the Universal title, but he's not going to stop referring to himself as the Tribal Chief, the head of the table. No. He's never going to stop referring to himself as that. The only way that stops is when he is conclusively beaten for it. And when you look at the whole
family.
Yeah, and we saw that at SummerSlam. They had the tribal, the tribal rules match. Yeah, the tribal combat match. We had that. And the whole makeup of it is there should be no outside interference, including from family members. We still got it anyway. So it kind of took away the whole, okay, does tribal combat apply? But it only applies if it's the chosen member of the family who will get, right, this is the one where there will definitely be no ref. Well, it's a Roman match, you're going to get ref bumps. But this is the decisive match, right, where there will not be a single ref bump involving Roman. There will be no interference. Paul Heyman will literally just stand there, not get involved at all. It's literally two men in the ring fighting to the end of that decisive pinfall or submission. It's going to be that one way or another. But was the simple adage of, because Jimmy's done it, he doesn't want to see Jay do what Roman's done and become like Jay. He doesn't want Jay to become like Roman in that sense of the tribal chief where he gets consumed and all delusional. Where because Rock's been there before, he is that guy. If they go down that route, and it is the status of tribal chief where The Rock just wins it and oversees it, but he goes, well, I've beaten him, but the tribal status means nothing. Obviously, that could denounce a lot of things, but when you look at it, it would realistically set the tone of where they're going. Now, like, I agree. If Roman lost the Universal title, to him, that doesn't matter because he said it so many times. With or without the title, I'm still this, I'm still XYZ. So you have to take what matters most away from him. The main man of the family itself. That means more to him than anything else.
Yeah. The head of the table is the thing he cares about the most. So, but the problem is, I think if you ask WWE right now, I think they got 3 matches set for Mania 40 already. Cody versus Roman, Jimmy and Jay, Jimmy versus Jay, and Gunther versus Seth Rollins. I think that's their 3 main 2 title matches and the brother versus brother match.
I think Rhea versus Bianca as well.
And Rhea versus Bianca they're looking at as well, ain't they? So that's the 3 or 4 matches they got booked in. Now, if The Rock goes, look, with this bloody strike at the moment, it don't look like it's going to end anytime soon. You know, I could be free and available, man. I control my own schedule anyway. Got nothing really going on right now. I could be available, man. I could be available. Now, if he says he's available and he's definitely going to do it, he's not going to back out, then you have to do it. Then what do you do with Cody? See, personally, what I would do, if they do this, you've got to give Cody a money match, ain't you? You have to give Cody a money match. So you give him John Cena. That is because Cody wants to wrestle John Cena. He's already said it, hasn't he? That's one of the people he wants to wrestle. So that's a money match. That's a WrestleMania match. There's no doubt about that. That because you've told this Cody story, you're telling it. They're not doing nothing with Cody right now, and I think they're not doing nothing with Cody right now. Not giving him any stories or matches for a reason. I think people are looking too much into it. I think they're looking into it like, we've got Cody set. We know what we're doing with Cody.
You can let other people have an opportunity. Like Styles hasn't had one in so long. Lashley will be up soon as well. Like they need an opportunity, something to do.
And we know what we're doing with Cody between Rumble and Mania. Don't worry about Cody's destination settled. He will win at Mania. So
he's the Judgment Day's bitch for the time being.
Yeah, and it's just you're gonna have to. If The Rock goes, I'm going to do it. You're going to have to do it because what world you go? No, you're right, Dwayne. We got Cody in the main event. It's The Rock. The biggest Hollywood actor in the world, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. You're going to put him in the main event. It writes itself, you know. But unless they do something where they go, Roman drops the titles for Mania.
Yeah.
Because he's not on the Rumble poster, is he? And that's got people talking as well.
I think he'll still be there at the Rumble anyway. Like these preliminary posters, they've done it before, but he was at the shows. Like he was not expected to be at Money in the Bank, but he was there because they done the Civil War madness. Like they done that, so he's not going to be there. But he will. I mean, when was the last time he missed one of the big 4?
I mean,
Because people say the Money in the Bank's the big one, but it's no. I don't class it as a big. Like they go with the big five now. I don't. I don't class Money in the Bank as a big pay per view. I just class it as a pay per view. It'll always be the big four: Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
They try and make Money in the Bank the big one, don't they? Now, but
yeah, you can't have your main champion realistically miss one of the big four. If he misses one of the big four, you're a disgrace.
Apparently, Roman's not due back till November. What, November the 4th is it? So in time for Survivor Series.
He'll be there to build up the Saudi match with Styles.
Yeah. I mean, it's just 4th of November is the Saudi match, ain't it? I think.
And he'll be returning to build all that up. I think you'll probably see him like the next 2 weeks or something, maybe. Next 2-3 weeks, you'll see him start to build up where they carry on. Styles is the right opponent for him anyway. Because he's not faced him in 7 years, and Styles is still one of the best in the world.
By the look of it, AJ's going back to that loner gimmick, ain't he? By the look of it, they're going to get rid of all the groups and all that, and just put him back in that loner gimmick.
He can keep Mia Yim. He can keep Mia Yim with him. That actually works really well. But like Anderson and Gallows are just like, I've got nothing against them, but WWE never use them. WWE never use Anderson and Gallows.
Even Triple H ain't even using them. It's not even. It's not always to do with Vince. Even Triple H ain't using them.
Yeah, but he should be using them because they're a good tag team. Like Carl Anderson is genuinely so bloody good. He can work as a single.
Can do it on his own. Yeah, exactly.
His Spinebuster is so good. I've always liked Carl Anderson.
But WWE wrote themselves in the corner a little bit here because they've made it so obvious now for me that the destination story is Roman Cody, with what they've done with the Uso split and Cody being one of the main and one of the main people in that. I mean, they brought him out in the pay-per-view to say, I was the one responsible for bringing Jey Uso to Raw.
Yeah.
So they're making it obvious, ain't they? This is the start of it. So if you bring Rock back, unless Rock comes back and costs Roman the match against Cody or something like that, I don't know. Maybe you do that. Or the Rock's the special guest referee or something. But I think we might see the Rock in WWE TV coming up very soon because he ain't got nothing to do. Cena's around for 8. I think Cena's around till Rumble now, isn't he?
Something like that. It's his longest consecutive run in over a decade or something.
He's got nothing to do. Please just don't give Cena the Miz. Can we get past that?
I don't want to see him get the Intercontinental title. A lot of people are saying he should get the Grand Slam, and I'm like, no thanks.
Oh, he ain't done the Grand Slam, has he?
I don't want him to get the Grand Slam.
He can't be. Leave that to Chad Gable, please.
Yeah, leave it to somebody who actually deserves it.
Not
somebody who just gets it because he's got a name.
Do you reckon Chad's going to beat Gunther?
Potentially.
A lot of people think Gunther's going to hold it till he wins the world title and have both belts.
The thing is, I've always said, I know a lot of people don't want it, but I've always been consistent. I want him to run it back, even though I absolutely hate the man. I would always say Gunther should be booked like Warrior, and Rollins should be in the Hogan type role, where you've got the two main titles on Raw, and you book it all the way where they clash in the Rumble. You could really still have Rollins and Gunther do double duty on the Royal Rumble, where both men are in separate matches, but you have them in the Rumble match. They both collide with each other on their own, and then they both get eliminated, but you build up already. It's Gunther versus Rollins at WrestleMania. I would have it the same way, title versus title. Gunther beats Rollins for the title. And then after that, instead of losing the title, Gunther just vacates. It's well, nobody's going to beat me for it, then fuck it. I'm not champion anymore. And then Chad Gable does what Perfect done. Wins it in a tournament. But that's what I've always wanted to do. Not every title reign has to end with the champion being beat. There's some champions are just that good where you can just be like, well, if they're never going to realistically get beat, just have them go, well, fuck it, here you go.
Good. I said this the other day to someone, and I'm going to say it right now. Gunther's title reign has been better than Roman Reigns'.
Oh, by a mile.
I think
it's just when I'm streaming, bud. It's good to see you, Justin.
I personally think Gunther's title reign's been more entertaining than Roman Reigns' title reign.
Roman's
I
matches are all the same shit. It's always the same.
yeah, Gunther should. I think Gunther's the greatest professional wrestler in North American wrestling right now. It's hard to say the world because what they do in Japan, but I would say Gunther's the best in America right now. What he does, it's a whole package. I've never seen him have a bad match. He's impossible. It's literally impossible. You know, even his like 3 out of 5 matches are a lot of people's 5 out of 5 matches. You know, he's just at that level. I think he's great on the mic. Yeah, he's not an MJF or a Rock or an Austin or a Flair on the mic, but what
But he
he
does
does,
his own.
it's old school mic work. That promo with Chad Gable on Raw was amazing.
He is
amazing.
He reminds me, funnily enough, of what Chris Jericho did in 2009 when Chris Jericho revamped himself and he started wearing suits. Chris Jericho's words were, Chris Jericho literally went back to Nick Bockwinkel. Gunther is working like Nick Bockwinkel from the 80s, where the guy was, exactly. The guy just knew what he was doing and it fit so well. And no, we're still going to keep going, Justin. We're not done yet, bud. We'll probably... Well, not yet.
Well, I have got to go in a bit actually because.
That's cool. In that case, we'll probably go. Like, we could probably go up to 2 hours. We can probably go another 10 minutes, and then that'll be it. We're at 1 minute. We're at 1 hour 51. But like my Gunther is a guy that you can physically, like, for Endeavor could build around, like in a smart way. Like if you want to go for legitimate guys who is intimidating, but will get you money and can actually make your product better, he is one of those guys that you can go like, oh yeah, we've got faith in you.
He's so protected as well. The only loss he's ever had on the main roster is that count out of to Chad Gable, and it made perfect sense for the story. You know, he's. I think personally, Gunther is Triple H's guy. That's Triple H's guy. He's looking at him thinking, I can put everything on you. You can have every belt. You can carry this company. There's no doubt about it. I can put you on every single main event for a whole year as world champion, and I know you'd kill it every single month without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Look, there's a little bit of me that wants to see Gunther Lesnar. I just think that's money.
I want to see.
They stand to it Rumble, didn't they? And the fans were like, hang on, this is what we want.
Yeah, I'd like to see the other guys that have beaten him. So I'd like to see. Well, obviously, Butch has never beaten him, but I'd like to see them run it back properly, where he's no longer called Butch. He's back to Pete Dunne, but Gunther versus Pete Dunne would be amazing. Obviously, Ilja made him tap out. I'd like to see a rematch between Gunther and Ilja Dragunov, and the only man that's pinned him is Braun Breaker. I'd like to see them run that back. That serious look would genuinely work. So I'm like, do that.
Yeah, Braun gotta be called up soon, surely.
He has to. Like, if not, then there's something seriously wrong. Good thinking. Gunther's champion killed and have Gable. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, Gunther doesn't need to lose the IC title for Gable to win the IC title. He doesn't need to do it.
I think they gotta do it though at Fastlane.
I'd hope them just to let that run just carry on, but just let it end with the fact that Gunther goes like, no one can legitimately beat me.
Chad's never been so over, has he? Do you want at the same time, you know, Gunther's gotta be all right losing, and he's got a bigger fish to fry coming up.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing.
Do you actually want to go with this Chad Gable momentum right now? Because the Alpha Academy are hilarious. They're brilliant. They're a great team. What's her name is great with them as well. I think she's fantastic.
Maxine.
I think Maxine's done a great job. And he's just in a position right now. I don't think he's ever going to be in ever again. So you've got the record now. The record's done. Gunther's going on to bigger and better things. Well, I think we can all agree with that, especially with Triple H behind the scenes. Even with Vince, I think Vince saw something in Gunther anyway.
Vince told him to get. Vince literally told him to get leaner. He told him you'd be more intimidating.
Yeah, I think Vince saw something. So yeah, I'd actually go with it for I probably would. I mean, have his family back out there, and then you had the family like upset and crying because Daddy lost, and then you can redo it where the family. It'd be my main event at Fastlane. I think it should main event the pay-per-view. over everything. Chad Gable
yeah.
wins, confetti, fireworks, family come in the ring, cuddles, crying. It's his moment. He's on Otis's shoulders. I think that'd be a beautiful way to do it, personally.
It wouldn't be a bad idea, because when you look at it on Raw, when you look at like the two titles right now, it's so interesting the dynamic they're doing with the world title, and they're doing it with the IC title. Where
this is a better belt.
when I was at
title.
when I was at Money in the Bank, when I came on done the show with Bailey the following week, my exact words were that match between Rollins and Balor was crap. It didn't get out of first gear. It was slow, and the fact that Damian Priest came out as well to tease a cash in really took away, and it spoiled it. And it really was, and it really is quite poor for that circumstance. But then SummerSlam was slightly better because they've done it more differently. But the fact that you at least got something better, where I think Nakamura has been presented better as a challenger for Rollins than Balor ever was, and it actually looks more right. So I'm like, if they don't put the title on Nakamura,
I'm not going to.
So then it's a shame. But you could still theoretically put the title on Nakamura. Rollins goes, heals up, whatever. He comes back and takes the title from Nakamura, and he holds it to WrestleMania, and he still transitions it. He could still be a transitional champion for Gunther. Nakamura doesn't need a long run.
No, I just don't think they see that in Nakamura. Look, he's doing great. I love what they're doing in Nakamura right now. I love the way Nakamura is doing his promos behind the scenes. That's how they should have always done it with Nakamura.
Going back to the Chaos Nakamura from New Japan is so beneficial.
Let him talk Japanese. He's Japanese. He doesn't need to speak English. Let him do the promos he's doing in Japanese behind the scenes, and the way they're doing it with the animation and all that. It's beautiful. It gets the point across. I don't need to understand what you're saying. I'm sitting there going, yeah, I get what you're meaning. I can.
And you've got the odd English word used as well for soft undertone.
Yeah, like Oscar does. I think it's brilliant, because although I don't know what they're saying because I don't speak Japanese, I understand what they're saying, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like that's what I like about them promos. I just don't think they see Nakamura as a champion, so I don't think Nakamura is going to. I literally think Seth's holding it till Mania. I don't know who he loses, why he would lose it. To be fair, unless you turn him heel. The thing with Rollins, he's not over his theme tune is. That's the difference.
It's a shame because like obviously he was named as the number one for the PWI 500 this year as well, which give or take, it depends on what we see. But it is so questionable what we are going to see.
Yeah, it's interesting though. They've got a lot of interesting things going on WWE right now. Oscar and Io Sky. That's a great dynamic. I've been wanting to see that match forever. They've got a load of little things cooking right now. They just got to put it all together. There's no doubt about that. Just put it all together. There's little things working quite well. They're coming to now. Usually Survivor Series time is usually when you start thinking about Mania season, ain't it? Because they start planting little things, don't they? Yeah. Usually around Survivor Series, and plant little things here and there on your build up to towards that time. But yeah, I think Raw and SmackDown might be completely different shows from next week. Because I don't know about you, we've been getting a lot of the same matches every single week, ain't we?
Yeah, I've already seen two of them. I've seen two of the matches tonight. Asuka versus Bailey and Finn Balor versus Styles is on SmackDown.
That's really entertaining. But
and then next week is Asuka versus Io for the women's title.
Yeah, well, title. So that's going to be a good match. So they've been spinning their wheels a little bit. I think Monday on Raw, I think we'll see a bit more creative differences in the show, and you might see some people that you haven't seen for a while and some different stories, because
hopefully
they need to move things on, in my opinion, at the moment. But
I agree. Just because obviously Justin's asked, obviously I noticed the mergers and the title and the thumbnail. I don't understand the concept. Could you please explain it? So basically what's come through is a new company's been formed called TKO. TKO is the merger of UFC and WWE under Endeavor. The value now is 21 billion as a collective. It's a 21 billion dollar company that's come together. The Endeavor have 51% control. WWE has 49% in terms of ownership. Vince McMahon has, as it's been correctly put, he has 12%, and he also has the power to veto UFC decisions over Dana White, which is fucking hilarious. But basically, what you're going to see is vast changes. Obviously, class division. Rumored is that their ideas of class division. Obviously, WWE pay-per-views will go back to Sundays as well. It will stop being on Saturday, if you like that or not. There's those sort of changes as well, but also like because the merger's done, the employees have been let go. Obviously, for major change to come from Endeavor, they want their own people involved. But the mainstay of it is WWE is still going to be run by WWE is still going to be run by WWE individuals, but it's now owned by Endeavor, and Endeavor will have the lasting say on some decisions that Vince will have to report to. He will still have to report those, but he will still have the main shares, the main control and stake in WWE from a WWE perspective. Endeavor will still run it in that way. We'll see what goes with it. My only take on it is what we see is what we get, and hopefully they don't neglect the product for a more corporate sense and they just stick to continuing what we need. We'll see what happens. We'll see, but hopefully that's helped you, Justin.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, man.
Definitely.
But I've got to shoot, unfortunately, Reece.
That's all right. No, it's been good. 2 hours, obviously. 2 hour show's been class. We'll get you back on again, obviously. That's not going to change. No, I'm not joking. That's the plan. SmackDown on a Friday, UFC on a Saturday. Sundays will be back to WWE pay-per-views. I don't know how that'll work with like a WrestleMania because they still do 2 nights. But if they plan on doing UFC on a Saturday, you can't have UFC run against WrestleMania night 1 because then that'll really cause problems.
Makes no sense.
So,
yeah. They want to own the whole weekend. No, they own the whole weekend. SmackDown Friday, UFC Saturday, WWE Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to cause a lot of interest, but we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, my friend, I've dropped the link in the description, but where can everyone find you on your socials? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at Jamie Phillips Football Chats. That is my YouTube channel. So come and check me out over there, guys, if you wish. And my Twitter, I can never bloody remember it, is at ChatsJamieFC. That's my Twitter. You can find me over there.
Absolutely. To everyone that's watched, obviously this has been a fantastic show. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks to Jamie for coming on. It's more than a pleasure. I'd love to get you on again soon. Talk a lot more of this. Talk more wrestling next time rather than just the mergers and all that. But we got a little bit of wrestling talk in there, which was really good. Coming up, obviously, some more content. Obviously, there's more gaming streams tomorrow. Doing that. And probably the same on Sunday, maybe an hour or something like that. But in the meantime, we've got some preparing for the quiz. Obviously is next. It's not next month, but the following month we'll be doing the quiz, which is Ailey's hosting it. That's the big Iron Man quiz. We have like a panel on. You're more than welcome to join us, Jamie. For that, I'll let you know in due time. And obviously, we've got watch along shows like for matches. We're going to be doing them again because that was popular on the channel. A particular match, we'll just rewatch it as if we're commentating, which is always fun. And again, it's just more wrestling content. So just keep an eye out on the community tab. But also, if you are watching, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Weekly Steelchair. And obviously to Jamie's Football Chats on YouTube. In the meantime, to everyone that has watched tonight, thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now, guys.